Inon Barnatan, thank you so much for welcoming us to La Jolla.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So great to have you here.
Inon, this is your 6th year now, 2024, 6th year as music director of SummerFest La Jolla. You live in New York City. You play in all the big musical cities around the world. Why come to La Jolla, California every summer?
Well, now you are here, you probably can understand.
I'm starting to get an idea, yes.
I've been actually coming to the festival for over 15 years. I used to come semi-regularly. And then I never really thought about music directing or being involved in the festival on this side. But I've always had a fascination with programming and with, in some ways, what could be done as a programmer, what a 21st century musician should be doing, or what a 21st century concert should be like. So when this opportunity came up, I jumped at it, and it's also one of the most beautiful places to be. It doesn't hurt that you can walk outside and go to the cliffs and see a bunch of sea lions and pelicans and in the Pacific Ocean. But also one of the things that really attracted me was this building, which opened the year that I became artistic director. So.
Brand new concert hall, or really complex with 2 different concert spaces and more.
Performing Arts Center that has the main hall, 500 seats, and then this hall, which is more flexible. But we also use all sorts of, all the rehearsals can be here. We've done concerts in the courtyard. We've really managed to squeeze music out of every crevice in this building.
And just to talk about La Jolla a little bit, the climate has a quality that I would almost describe as seductive. Every day is 80 degrees and beautiful. You smell the salt air of the Pacific Ocean, which is literally a viola's throw away. I mean, we are so close to the ocean here.
I don't know if violists would appreciate that you're throwing violas and not other, but yes, correct.
As you said, the seals and the sea lions are on the rocks just about 2 blocks away from here. Last night, the PT crew and I went and watched the sunset. And there were hundreds of other people watching the sunset over the Pacific Ocean. When it finally went down, people literally applauded. So this is kind of the vibe. It's Southern California, but it's the really relaxed side of Southern California.
Yeah, it's hard for most of us, even musicians, to go in the building every day, and get away from the outside and go inside. And it's a very seductive, as you say, nature and vibe. But at the same time, I think a lot of very interesting things culturally have been happening here in La Jolla and in San Diego. Officially, not many people know that La Jolla is San Diego. We're basically a part of the city.
20 minutes from downtown San Diego.
Exactly, and there's so many things have been happening here in the last 5-10 years culturally that people are starting to also realize that there's more to La Jolla and there's more to San Diego than the beach. But it is also one of the reasons that I and other musicians love coming here, because nobody comes to summer festivals to get rich. Or to it's a labor of love. Both it's musically a labor of love, it's socially a labor of love, and it does not hurt that you're in one of the most beautiful places in the world.
I went to an open rehearsal yesterday, and I enjoyed. I mean, it was a very full house, first of all, for the open rehearsal. So the audience is really interested, not just in the final product, but in getting that behind-the-scenes glimpse and really seeing the process. I love the questions. I love the interaction between the artists and the audience. And there was a sense of wonder in the audience. So you and I live in New York City. Sometimes you go to a concert and there can be a little bit of a jaded feeling, like everybody's been here and done this. And yes, I love going to Carnegie Hall and Lincoln Center. I will always love going to those kind of revered places. But coming to a place like this where people don't see world-class artists every single day or every weekend, there was a real appreciation for what was happening on stage.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes they're really... I remember there's a few of the musicians that came the first week, and one of them, a few of them, leaned over to me and said, "Do they know how good this is?" because I think even the musicians are not used to all the. I mean, you can get a lot of great people everywhere, but all of them converging together, and it really does feel like some sort of summit, and. There is definitely a sense that this quality can happen. That New York and LA and all these places would be happy to be very thrilled to have these concerts, but also a real sense that I'm glad that it's here, because there isn't that jaded quality you talk about is not there. A lot of these people are equally happy to hear Tom Addis, who was our composer in residence, as they are to hear a lot of things that they're not familiar with. They don't get to hear the Beethoven string quartet cycle every year, or some of these great masterpieces, or even the Shostakovich string quintet, or whatever it is. There's an equal open-mindedness without it feeling like that you're playing for people who don't know what they're listening to. I remember actually last year, I opened the festival with a concert where none of the pieces were disclosed in advance. So it was a complete unknown to the audience what they're going to listen to. And I told them it would be like an omakase. Trust the chef. There's going to be a secret menu. And one of the pieces there was the Schrecker Chamber Symphony, which I was pretty sure that most of the musicians haven't even heard of Schrecker.
So this is Franz Schrecker, Viennese composer, early 20th century.
Exactly. Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful composer. It's some wonderful mix between kind of the late Romantic Strauss, Mahler, and the early 20th Schoenberg and Debussy and all that type of stuff in there. Music was wonderful, but I knew that most people would not have heard the name, let alone know what to expect. And yet, one of our audience members came and said, "Oh, I'm a member of the Schrecker Society." So I was completely flabbergasted. But so you never know who's in the audience, but there is, but that concert was sold out. There is a sense that people have a trust, and that is a kind of a community of sorts of music lovers that really want to hear what we have.
Inon, one of the great pleasures of my 20-plus year tenure hosting Performance Today has been watching your career blossom over these last 2 decades. You play in all the great venues around the world, chamber music, orchestral music, solo recitals. For a lot of people, that would be enough. But there was this glimmer for you of saying, oh, what does it mean to plan not just a concert, but 4 weeks of concerts, a whole series of concerts? Where does that fit in your creative life, in your creative mind? And does that take anything away from being a pianist, or does that feed your life as a pianist?
I always found that, first of all, chamber music, solo playing, concerto playing are intrinsically interlinked. I feel very strongly that I cannot be a good solo pianist. I can't play with the orchestra without having the understanding of what it's like to do chamber music, because it's the same thing, just on a slightly bigger scale. And I don't want to play the piano without having an innate understanding and in my ear what a string quartet, what sounds like, what a wind instrument sounds like, what voice sounds like. If you play the piano just like a piano, it would be a very two-dimensional thing. So, and the few very rare times where I teach a masterclass, that's the first thing that I ask usually is, what instrument's playing that? What sound are you trying to imagine? So the first part of it is that I find chamber music to be essential to my solo work. And during the season, I don't get to do a lot of chamber music. I have a couple of regular music partners, Elisa Weilerstein, cello, Renee Fleming, but I don't get to do enough chamber music. So that was another aspect of it, is getting to do chamber music with the people that I want to do chamber music with, and so I have control. But the third aspect of it is what you're saying, is that there's something incredibly fascinating to me about having the bigger scope, the breadth to play with in terms of programming. It's one of the hardest things for me to do is program a piano recital for myself, because there's so much music out there, and to choose one is to neglect another. So I have very severe musical FOMO, fear of missing out. So this gives me the opportunity to really indulge that and really build an arc and have a bigger sandbox to play in. And it's just so, even more fascinating than I ever thought it would be.
You live in New York City, so you have to get here all the way across the country and back every summer. Most people, I think, would choose to fly. They do that in, 5 or 6 or 7 hours. You and your family make a different choice. How do you get here and how do you get home every year?
We drive. We live in New York City, so we do not have a car, like many New Yorkers. But every summer, at the beginning of the summer, we rent a car and we cross the country. And we started doing it because we have a dog, and we wouldn't put the dog under the plane. But it became one of our favorite parts of our year, actually. First of all, there's very few times in the year where you can just be together and with nothing else. I mean, I'm not practicing, I can't practice. And it's just this beautiful, it's kind of like a vacation for us. We do it very nicely. We stop in nice places. Every year we do a different route. We stay in different places and we try to see the country. And see mostly the places also that I wouldn't necessarily go to if I were, places that don't have a concert hall. Little cabins or national parks, and it's become just one of our, I can't wait every year.
So you have 2 cross-country road trips every year, getting here and getting back.
Yeah, usually actually on the way here, I stop at different festivals.
Okay.
So this year, for example, I stopped in Aspen Festival and I played with the Cleveland Orchestra and in Vail. So sometimes it works out that I can do it all driving. Sometimes I have to get somewhere and fly and come back. But mostly in July, it's a kind of a traveling circus. And then I get here, and this is the only place in my life, really in my year, where I spend full 5 weeks, even at home. I'm never 5 weeks at home at one go.
Because you have gigs.
Yes,
I'm
I'm based there, but so it's a very different and very satisfying part of my year to be here in one place and see the world change around me.
Yeah.
By world, I mean the different musicians that come and
different musicians coming and going, different music happening on stage. Yeah.
Myself and the fellowship artists who are the young musicians that we choose every year to become part of this festival are the only ones that are here the entire time. Everybody else comes and goes.
Yeah. I so appreciate what I'm seeing and feeling happening here, not just as a lover of music, but as a person in this world. Inon Barnatan, I so appreciate what you're doing here at SummerFest La Jolla, and thank you so much for speaking with me.
It's so wonderful to have you here, and welcome. Thank you.